Tyrant Bikes is a relatively new company. They started selling their first bike in 2020, but they do have some familiar faces in the bike industry behind Tyrant. I'm not going to get into the whole details because I don't know how much I'm allowed to share, honestly. But I talked to the president of the company, Sal, on the phone yesterday. And Sal is the founder of Leader Bikes. And at this point, I kind of feel like that name is like Voldemort. And then there's also Emi Brown, who's an original MASH SF rider involved with Tyrant. Patrick Thames from Pedal Consumption. Basically, people who really know fixed gear, who have been in fixed gear for 10, 20 plus years, and who know how to make some sick bikes. So we'll see if these hold up. So this is the Tyrant Legacy. This is their steel bike. And already I can tell, just from like these seat stays, that this is something that's, you know, not your run-of-the-mill type of bike. Even something as simple as just putting your logo on the side tack of the seat stay, like, you gotta get, as far as I know, custom tooling for that, so that's pretty sick. Like, it doesn't matter if the decals come off, you know what this bike is 20 years down the line, 100 years down the line. Like this, you'll be able to identify this thing in a nuclear apocalypse. Ooh. It's packed really well, it's protected well, and I sure would hope so for, you know, a mid-level frame set. That's real nice. It's no secret that steel is my preferred frame set material, but the Tyrant Legacy is a much more modern steel frame set, and unapologetically so, than most bikes that I find myself attracted to, and I do really like this bike so far. The thing that really grabbed me about this Legacy, just pulling it out of the box, is just seeing how girthy the tubing is. Just for comparison, the tubing on my beloved Wabi Special is a relatively small diameter to keep it supple and springy, but the Tyrant, like, that's a girthy top tube. That's an even girthier ovalized down tube, as opposed to just a very slim, slender, elegant tubing on my Special. Larger diameter tubing frame sets are stiffer. Smaller ones are springier and more supple. You're really curious to see if it's too stiff for me, or if that amount of stiffness that it has over my Special is something that I don't really like. And the Tyrant Legacy is made out of double-butted 4130 chromoly. The super impressive thing to me, though, is this seat tube cutout. Like, it's really hard to get steel to do this right here, and the fact that you could tuck the wheel to squeeze the wheelbase is something that's really cool, and I would love to see how it changes the ride quality. But at the very least, it looks really sick, and that's just something that's hard to do and you don't see on a ton of bikes. There's just something about segmented forks that really speak to me. I will be curious to see if this pretty thick straight-bladed fork will be harsh to ride. I mean, this thing is pretty much a weapon. Like, you could comfortably murder somebody with that. The dropouts remind me of an old school BMX bike, which you might love it, you might hate it. I'm kind of somewhere in the middle. It's nice that there are measurement markings on the dropouts so you know your ideal placement where to tension your chain when you're running a certain gear ratio, which is pretty nice. When you look at the dropouts of a fixed gear or track bike, you can really see how much soul that the people who designed it put into it, because if they're just using an off-the-shelf component, which is easy and cost-effective to do, but you end up with the same thing as everybody else, like, functionally, it doesn't really do much other than looking cooler. But if you're a fixed gear rider, like, this is a piece that you really appreciate when there's something unique and different. Also, this thing fits 35C tires, so I'm of the camp that a bigger tire is generally better. 35 pretty much hits the sweet spot for fixed gear, where you can ride both on the road comfortably, on off-road comfortably. If you want to fit knobbies on it, I believe it is 32C max with knobbies, so you can take this thing pretty much anywhere you want to go, and I will certainly be putting that to the test. It does come with a seat collar and even a headset, which is nice, because it's kind of annoying when you buy a frame set, and then it's like, oh, I spent 500 bucks or so on this frame set, and now I gotta spend another 50 to 100 bucks on a headset, plus like 20 bucks for installation. So it's nice that they do include one right out of the box if you do want to use it and just be as hassle-free as possible. It is a black one. I imagine most people would want a black headset with this bike just because of how modern and mean it looks. No branding on it, but it feels good. The Legacy comes with two colorways, the raw steel gloss, which is what I have here with the gold decals, and the raw steel matte, which is what comes with silver decals, depending on your preference. Both of them are just going to be raw with a clear coat. It allows you to see the nice grain and all the texture on the steel. Also all these little brazing points, see the material. But if I had to nitpick, the decal gold doesn't exactly match this gold-ish brazing material color. It would have been just extra Fixie points on top of this already delicious steel bike cake. Overall, I really like the placement of the decals. It gives it some nice personality without being overbearing. There's a nice decal on the... Another thing about it being raw with not that much paint on it is that it dings. This thing's pretty much a musical instrument. But the decals are super cool. Just gives it a nice little accent so that you feel like you're, again, getting something special here. And I have to be honest here, whenever I see a raw steel frame set, especially a modern one, it just makes you think of the Chinelli Mash Work, or the Mash Work, or whatever they're calling it now, the Mash Steel. It's like Mash really popularized the modern steel, big tire, versatile frame set in raw. And if you're doing that, people are just going to think about that because it's like, oh, it's like you have that, but like not as expensive. Why doesn't this come in any colors? Why not really do your own thing in this case and really give people something that's different? I want a purple one with gold decals. That's all I'm saying. You look at it and you just want to ride it hard. Super stoked to build it up and ride it downstairs, ride it off-road, all of that good stuff. Now the 58 centimeter Legacy on its own, just the frame, is heavier than the frame and fork for the aluminum Tyrant, what the heck is it called? Beastie. This thing is looking like more of a beast than the Beastie. 8 pounds, 3 ounces with the fork, or 3.73 kilos. It's kind of heavy. Is it? I don't even know weights. I'll weigh my bike when I build it up. But if you want to learn more about my personal bike, you're in luck because this video is sponsored by Wabi Cycles. Now I've got a question for you. Why do you ride bikes? Why does anybody ride bikes? And the answer is because it's fun. And why do I ride my bike a Wabi Special? Well, simply put, it's the most fun that I've ever had, throwing a leg over a bike. Having a really fun and beautiful bike, something that's just puts a smile on your face, whether you're just looking at it or whether you're actually pedaling it, is a really powerful thing. If you want to get big, meaty, fast, fixie thighs like me, you gotta ride your bike a lot, and riding your bike a lot becomes effortless when it is something that is legitimately the best part of your day. And Wabi's able to do that with their bikes because they're all made out of top tier, lightweight steel tubing, from Rendell 725 to Columbus Spirit tubing, which is some of the lightest steel tubing that money can buy. And Wabi's a legitimate bike shop based in Denver, Colorado. They're not just some warehouse shipping bikes to you. They want to make sure that you get on your dream bike right out of the box. So you can choose the fine details of your Wabi, down from your stem length, crank arm length, gear ratio. Wabi's bikes have literally changed my life. They're so good that I don't even own a car, and they're so good that it's the only bike that I care to own, and they encourage me to ride my bike every single day, which just makes every single day better. If you're interested in getting one for yourself, be sure to check out Wabi Cycles, linked in the description. Fixie famous shoutouts to Julian Corona, Brandon Black, Ted Onchi, Brent David, and Mario Perez for helping to make these fixed gear and cycling videos possible through their support on Patreon. And remember that, too much talking. Life is short, but don't make it shorter, so be sure to ride your bike every day to be reasonably dangerous.